Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Raising Starseeds. Heidi and I are so excited to be joined with Sherri Divband today. And she is an intuitive energy healer. But even more than that, she's already starting and enacting and building this curriculum to work with these gifted star seeds, these gifted children, these sensitive children that are already here. She has Aramis Learning Center. Her own website is Intuitive Wellness Center, and she's already building it, guys. And we're so excited to talk with her today. Sherri, how are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Abby and Heidi. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We've been really looking forward to it.
Yes.
How did you?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just over now. I'm like, how'd you get started?
Yeah, it's I think like many people, the road that you travel, in hindsight, you look back and you're like, man, how did I get here? Because it wasn't like I planned on it. When I was a child, I wanted to work with animals. I'm an only child, so I was very connected to animals. We moved around a lot and didn't have a lot of friends, didn't really fit in, was made fun of a lot. And so I really connected to animals, and I had a German Shepherd as my first like true pet. We had cats and things, but I didn't really connect to them. It was the dog that really kind of opened me up and became my best friend. And I really became really attached to the animal kingdom, and I wanted to be a veterinarian. And so when I was in high school, I'm the type of person that, like, when I want to do something, I do like 150%. I'm the hardest worker out there. And so when I was in high school, I got a job at a veterinary hospital, and I worked my butt off, and I became a technician like within a year, which was unheard of, because you really have to work your way up to that. Which, if for those of you that don't know, a technician is like a nurse. And I went in on my day off to just watch surgeries. I just wanted to immerse myself in that world because I was really interested in it. And through that journey, I realized that I didn't really want to be a vet. I liked the nursing aspect. I liked the animal care part of the veterinary medicine. I liked to hang out with the animals and do all of the work that the vet said, do all of these things. And we did it. And it's just really rewarding. So I spent, 20 years now, I've been working with animals, but I became a registered veterinary technician. I worked in the ICU for many years. I worked in critical care, surgery, general practice, exotics. And I learned Reiki because I wanted to help the animals. So I never zero interest. I'll say this over and over in all of my interviews. I'm very honest. I had no interest in ever working with people. I didn't have that desire to help people. I grew up thinking that people were mean and they were bitter, and I had such terrible experiences with a lot of people growing up that I just didn't really have a great taste in my mouth with people. So I was like, I was very introverted too, and shy and quiet as a result of that. So I wanted to learn energy healing to help animals. So that's because, working in the ICU, these animals were in some really, I hope no one watching this ever has to have their animal in critical care, because it's really hard to watch and care for them. So I learned Reiki to help soothe them after surgeries and help with pain management, things like that. Now I started having children years before that. I had my first son at 23. So I consider myself pretty young. I was still a baby. I didn't know what I was doing. But he really started to change my world. I started to he opened up my heart. And those of mothers out there, I know you guys know, your children have a way of opening up your heart in a way you didn't know was possible. And the love that you have for them is just undeniable, and more even than you feel for yourself or anything else on the planet. And I was like, this is unbelievable. This love, where is it coming from? And I wanted to create a better world for him. His name is Jordan. And so I started to change myself. And I noticed as I started to change myself, my perception of the world started to change. And I started to look at people, and instead of blaming everybody for being so mean, I started to ask the question, why are they the way they are? What happened to them? Perhaps they were abused as a child. Maybe they didn't have any love. Maybe they weren't lucky like me, who had great parents that loved me, and they're suffering. And so I started to really change my perspective on the world, and everything changed for me. You change your thoughts and everything else follows. And so, and then I had my second son 7 years later. And that's when everything really opened up for me. And I was always spiritual, but I really started to get very spiritual and started connecting with people and started working on people because I wanted to help them. I did hypnobirthing for a while because I had this was not until I had my third child, who's my youngest, Aramis. I had three traumatic births. I mean, awful, painful, just, the story. And I wanted something better for women. I said, there has to be a better way. And hypnobirthing came into my life. And I was like, I'm going to help women have better childbirth. And really what it is teaching them how to use hypnosis, self-meditation, and breathing exercises throughout the entire pregnancy to bring them into more of a peaceful, relaxed, more balanced state, so that when you go into labor, you're able to relax, as opposed to trying to relax when you haven't relaxed for the entire 9 months you've been pregnant. It's very hard to do. So I really got involved in that. And then slowly I started working with the parents and then the children. So everything is kind of just navigated. I did work at the zoo for 10 years as well. So I worked with exotic animals and kind of did both. And then when I started working with the parents, then I really got interested, and I really started to hate, I never hated my job, but I really felt like my job at the zoo and the animals was kind of, I felt like my contract was over with that. And I felt like I needed to step into this new reality, this new journey, which was working with really predominantly was women and children. I worked with men as well, but it didn't seem like as many men kind of came into my studio. And so through working with parents, they started coming to me for challenges with their children that were having anxiety, depression, but also at autism, Asperger's, but also because I was very spiritual, I became somewhat of a spiritual life coach through my healing sessions with people. And I started doing past life readings, and, my ability started to progress the more I worked with people. Next thing you know, I was giving them soul readings and talking to their guides and angels, and then galactic family members from other star systems. And it was incredible. And I started connecting with their children in a different way. And I started understanding why they were having anxiety, why they were having depression, why they were even labeled autistic or having Asperger's or on some sort of a spectrum. And I realized this is energetic. There's more to it than this. And, through my daughter, I'm going all over the place because the story is quite complicated and multi-dimensional. But my daughter, who's now 7, Aramis, she came to me about a year or so before I got pregnant with her. Now, I always wanted to have 3. I knew I was going to have 3 children, but I thought I was going to have 3 boys, and I was fine with that. I just thought there was a boy coming. And she came to me, her spirit came to me, and she said, she introduced herself as named Lily. That's a whole other story. Because that was the name that she had in a previous existence. And she said, I'm going to be your daughter, and we're going to basically we have a lot of work to do together, and I need your help because you're going to set something up so important for me. And she didn't tell me what it was at first. So it was throughout time. I channeled her every single week of my pregnancy. I sat down, meditated, and got a message for her. So I have big journal full of her messages. And I realized, gosh, these messages are not just for me. Like, these messages are for humanity. One day I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to put these messages in there, which I did. My second book at the end has some messages from Aramis that I channeled that one day I'll share with her when she's old enough to really understand it. And she told me finally that I would open up what she referred to as a spiritual center for children, because there were so many starseeds coming into the planet like her, many of which never had any lives before this one. They're different. They eat different. They talk different. They act different. They require different parenting. And I'm blessed enough to have 3 children that are completely night and day different. I've had to parent them different. And I know now that they did that, I planned that out ahead of time, so I could really understand the different types of children and how difficult it can be, how rewarding it can be, but also understanding them better, because I have 3 completely different children. It's really taken me a lot of patience and a lot of effort to understand each individual one, where they're from, what they're here to contribute to this world, and why they act the way they do. And then I noticed that I was able to relate to other children like them. So I saw that, children like my oldest son, who's a crystal, very sensitive. extremely sensitive, and here to bring love back into the world, to open people's hearts. So then I started meeting others like him, and I said, oh, that's a crystal too. She's a crystal too. He's a crystal too. And I started getting this database of knowledge, which is how I wrote the second book, Divinely Guided, because I was getting all this flood of information of my clients and the children that I was working with on their point of view. They wanted to tell us, hey, I want a voice too. Let me tell you what's going on with me. And I just became this person that they could talk to, like they couldn't speak to their parents. And so it was such a beautiful relationship. And through that, I thought, okay, well, I'll open up a spiritual center for children. You know, why don't we have a spiritual center? Why isn't there a spiritual center for children where they can go, instead of taking art class, at the YMCA, they're doing meditation and yoga and mindfulness and connecting to their guides and learning how to channel. Like, why don't they have that? And I started asking those questions. And then that's kind of where the idea came to my mind. And I thought, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. That's what Aramis wants me to do. And that's what I thought. But what I found out later is it was much bigger than that. And then it slowly, which I don't want to talk for too long, I'll let you ask me questions, but it has transitioned and shifted over the past year, because last year, it's been exactly 1 year when I decided to start the first spiritual center. And I thought perhaps we may have a few more here and there, but now a year later, it's turned into something so much bigger. We're taking on the education system, and it's so much bigger. So Aramis's legacy is it's not about a spiritual center. It's about introducing to the world these new earth children, these starseeds, whatever you want to call them. They're just labels at the end of the day, to represent who they are and what they're here to do and how different they are and what characteristics they have, what their strengths are, and how to parent them, how to teach them, how to heal them. And it's a collaboration between mothers, teachers, guides, grandparents, and just society who don't even have children that are touched by these children, because they are the future. And so the centers that I'm trying to create now is really about creating the future of education, or a platform for them to thrive and grow. Because as you know, and everyone watching this is likely thinking the same thing, that our education system has not been designed for our children's best interests. I don't think that's a conspiracy anymore. And it's time that we change it. And so here I am, a year later, doing something I never thought I would do. And I'm doing it. And it's really nice to be on your platform and others to showcase that and to express my ideas, so that we get more momentum back behind it and more energy behind it. So that's kind of in a quick synopsis.
There's a lot. There's so much to unpack there, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's now really is the time, and all the parents are really, they're craving it. They're thirsty for it. And because it is about building this platform, just like you said, for then these kids can just take it and run with it and ensure that they're thriving in the way that they came here to do. One of my personal missions, and I taught a course last weekend, is working with the adults, opening up their natural intuitive abilities and knowingness, because when the parents are open and understanding, then they can better communicate and work with the children. So that's been, something that's on my docket. And Heidi has been so passionately working with the children in the LA area and finding all these galactic pods that they go to. And, one of your teachers locally, what's their new curriculum that they just started, Heidi?
Which one? Like, which one? With the 4 schools?
Yes. Yes.
There's 4 schools happening. That's stellar. And then, my daughter's teacher. Yeah. The sacred geometry, like for their math, science, they're doing sacred geometry and mystery schools. And, they're starting to rewrite the history books themselves. And it's pretty beautiful. What I'm finding a lot is there's a lot of, like you said, the entire education system needs to be rewritten. But what we're watching is the collapse of it, and people that may not be like you and I and Abby connected to source and like tapping into things. They're not there yet, but they do feel something's wrong. And I feel that's their awakening. They're watching,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, this is indoctrination. Oh my goodness, I don't want my child learning that. It's up to them to help it collapse. And we're here on the side getting ready, already building, ready for them, like, come on over. I'm excited for that. And
Yeah.
finding the others is key, you know.
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that. How can I ask a question? How old your oldest, your first is? You said your daughter's 7.
My daughter's 7. The oldest is 9, and then I'm sorry, the middle is 9. My oldest is about to be 17.
17. Okay, wow. And they go ahead. I was going to say they went through traditional education, and then you realized, did they step out? You know, your eldest. Did you
No,
watch
so,
what he had to go through?
yeah, they're all in public school. Luckily in our area, you know, it's not the best, but it's pretty good for you know, considering. And I'm focusing my attention right now on opening the first center so that the younger two will be able to then go into our learning centers for the rest of the remainder of their education. But my son, you know, he's about to graduate high school. He wants to play with his friends. It's, you know, I can't pull him out. And as long as he's okay and he's feeling like he's learning something and he's getting something out of it, I'm not going to do that to him. But the younger two are still in, and literally they're just waiting for me to open it up.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to pull them out and homeschool them right now because I literally work all day, and you know, I don't
Sure.
want them just to be sitting around. So right now they're in school, but I'm telling you, the second my area starts to mandate anything, I will pull them out like tomorrow. I won't even think about it twice. But for right now, they're all in public school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted to bring back to something that you talked about in the beginning of your story, and how your children activated you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I think it's so interesting that we designed it that way for some of us, for, you know, for these starseeds to come in and bring us into what our main kind of purpose and our focus is. But yeah, so I just want to say, like, you know, my children, everyone in the show knows, you know, I'm a lifelong contactee, and, you know, I've had some things, but it wasn't until my children came into my life with all of their abilities fully intact that it made me fully open up myself and say, okay, this is something that we probably need to look at. And it's been a really neat kind of merging, as, you know, the more mom opens up and works with this, the more they're now opening up and working with it. Do any of your kids, are they interested in any of the energy healing? Do any of them, I mean, have you taken any of your kids to Reiki 1 or Reiki 2 levels? All of mine, I trained and took them to Reiki 1 so far.
Yeah. Yes. That's a great question. So my oldest, who's about to turn 17, when he was younger, we used to do spirit circles with my mom and a few other people, and we would just get together on a Saturday afternoon, and we would read tarot cards, we would channel messages, we would do all sorts of fun stuff, play with crystals, and Jordan would be there with us. And he loved it. He had his own little box with crystals in it. He had his own tarot deck. He could see things. Archangel Michael would come to him. And then he had a scare. He was about, I don't remember, maybe 7 or 8 years old. No, it was before Skylar was born. So he was about 6, almost 7. And he started seeing dark angels. I'll never forget this story. We were sitting in the kitchen and he's looking around the room and he's like, Mommy, is there such thing as a dark angel? And he's looking at me like with all seriousness. And I'm like, well, yeah, but tell me why. Why are you asking? And he said, well, because and he's looking up in the kitchen and he's like, because they're flying around our kitchen right now. And I said, really? What do they look like? And he's like, well, they look like regular angels, but they're dark and they're scaring me, and they're making sounds, and and they have scary faces, and they're black. And I was like trying not to freak out because I'm like, I didn't see them. And I was like, you know, and it was just the two of us home. My husband wasn't there. And I was like freaking out, and I was like, but I held my composure and I said, you know what, Jordan? I said, it's okay. You don't give them any attention and they will go away. If you show any fear, then they're going to see that and they're going to want to mess around with you. I said, so tell them to go away and don't even look at them again. And it worked that one time, but then he kept seeing things everywhere. And it was like a door opened for him. And it was really traumatic. And I think because of that, he shut himself down. And he stopped wanting to see things. He stopped wanting to play with the crystals. I think he became scared. And I didn't push it. I've never pushed my children if they don't want to do something. So that really closed him off. He's always been open, and he's like, oh, mom's doing her thing, you know? And so he's been exposed his whole life. And he knows what I'm doing now. He knows everything, but he's a teenage boy and he wants to play video games and go out with his friends, and he's interested in girls and things. So he's kind of, he's doing his own thing. My middle son, Skylar, you know, he's really into Reiki. I've taught him. I teach Reiki. I teach Reiki to children too. And so it's easy. Obviously, it's easier for me to just teach them without them really feeling like they're in class. So I just do it in a way like, let me just show you something. And he does it on me all the time when I don't feel well. He says, Mommy, do you want me to do Reiki on you? And he works. Like, he'll put his hand on me and I actually feel better. I'm like, man, he can channel energy really well. So he's pretty into that. He has his own crystal collection. He has his Merkaba. And he's pretty open to all of this as well. He knows exactly what I do. But at the same time, he's into video games and other things, so I don't push it. And then my daughter, I won't tell anybody publicly who she is. I will soon when I get the okay that it's safe, but she's part of a special group on Earth, and she's very protected right now, but she's also targeted. So she is attacked nightly in her dreams, no matter what I do. She has to sleep with somebody always. And she sees a lot and she's very connected. And so that's also scares her. But she's exceptional. She can do a lot of things. She can feel a lot of things, sense a lot of things. And I know she's going to do she's going to far surpass me at some point. But when she's ready, like I said, she's 7. So it's got to be in her time where she feels comfortable. But she has that ability. I can tell even more than the boys.
Yeah. That's incredible. You know, I wanted to ask you, in regards to all the curriculum that you've been setting for the kids, how is it, what do you do to it to make it more digestible for the younger age versus an adult curriculum would look like? What would you think is kind of the key in order to make it better for younger ages? Because, you know, this is always the question is, you know, these kids they have such great knowledge of themselves. They really do. You know, they're coming in here and they understand that they're old. They have wisdom. And one of the main struggles, my children really have always struggled with this, the knowledge of themselves, the knowledge of all the lives they've lived, and they're stuck and trapped in this body of a child, and they're spoken to like a child, and they're looked down upon because they're a child, but knowledge of themselves being old and wise and commanding an entire fleet of people, and, you know, and they have those memories. And so I guess, you know, the question is, what do you do in your curriculum to make it better for children versus the adults?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's all about prioritizing the children first, because at the end of the day, most of the children coming in after the year 2000, they are exceptional. Now, some people, you know, they get upset when I say that. All children are special. All souls are special. Every single one of us on this planet right now is special in our own way, regardless of where we're from, how many lives we've had. But these children are coming in for the ascension. They're here to help with the evolution. And so they are very evolved. They're 7th density and higher, most of them are resonating at a frequency of greater than 1,000. What does that mean? That means they're highly intelligent. That means they're highly sensitive. They're highly aware and in tune with their environment. And they are going to tell you that they don't agree with the education system and the schooling. A 4-year-old will tell you that. I don't like school, Mom. I don't like school, Dad. I don't like what I'm learning, and it doesn't resonate with me. And yes, these children use the word resonate. I've talked to them. It's incredible. And so what I have seen, and so part of the reason why I did decide to go the educational route is because I started seeing the need. There is a need for the spiritual beginnings type of classes. Yes, it's clear, it's evident. They want it. The parents want it. But what I started to notice in my sessions were through communicating with the children and the parents that the children they weren't learning. The schools are a disservice to them and their abilities, and they're trying. The issue with the school system is currently, and how it's been for hundreds of years, is that their curriculum is designed to put these children in a box, so that from the day they go in until the day they graduate, it's programming. It's all about programming and indoctrination. And so these children learn to listen, to behave, to follow a system, to follow order, and they're becoming sheep. And that's unfortunate, because those that are brave enough to stand out of that and break free and say, well, hold on a second, why do I, they ask the questions. And my son is one of them, the middle one. Mommy, why am I learning this math? When am I going to use this later? And I'm like, you're not going to use this later. Don't worry about it. But the children don't always have parents that are going to give them those type of answers. They just say, do it because you have to. Because why? Why, mom? Well, because you have to go to college. And why? Because you have to. That's what we do. And then what? And then you get a job, and then you work 9 to 5 until you are fortunate, maybe, to retire with some years left in your life with a little bit of money to go and retire in Florida. Like, that's not a way to live. And these children know it from a very young age that there's something wrong with it. And they don't want to learn the way that they're being taught. And they don't want to sit still for 8 hours a day. They don't want to learn all the things that they're learning. So what I am starting to understand is the need and the desire of these children should be we should prioritize that. So the Aramis Creative Learning Center, I've created our philosophy, which is based on the idea that the children should come first. They do come first, that there are no longer teachers and the children. It's not a hierarchy. There are no hierarchies. There are no grades. So we are not lumping children together based on the age that they are and putting them in a grade because they have to be. There's no testing. There's no letter grades. There's no separation where these children feel like they're competing with one another. So it's all designed in a way where we have the children, the students, and then we have mentors, which are the teachers, the facilitators that are there to help the children learn in the way that is best suited for them. And so the classrooms are very organic, very fluid. So they may not even sit down. They may be standing the whole time. They will be outside a lot of the time. It's a la carte type of learning. So the children really get to decide what it is that they're interested in, how they want to learn. So the teachers or the mentors that come on really have to be very flexible and really understand our philosophy and where we're going completely 180 degrees away from the traditional system and the way it's designed, where it's one size fits all education. Because what I'm trying to create is not that. It's the ability for children it's self-directed learning. What is it that you want to learn? What are you interested in? And they get to choose. And the teachers are there as a facilitator, as a mentor, as opposed to a dictator, which is how a lot of these teachers perform these days, only because they don't know any better. That's how they're taught. There's nothing wrong with them. And a lot of the teachers right now are the ones emailing me saying, I want to get out of this system. I got into teaching because I wanted to help children, and I'm doing the opposite of that. And so it's a la carte learning. We call it the Aramis stages of learning. So there's 5 stages of learning, and it's based on developmental stages. So our centers will be anywhere from ages 4 all the way to age 22, and each developmental stage will prepare them for the next stage, and it's preparing them for life. So it's not just math, science, reading, which is important. I'm not putting it down, but like you said, I can't remember if we were recording this already when we talked about this, but it's like learning math through geometrical patterns and mandalas, and doing math with real life relatability, working with money, cooking classes, measuring. And so if they can relate, why am I learning this? So they understand why they're learning what they're learning. Then they get the mindfulness classes where we teach them. They need to understand their emotions, vibration, energy, how to channel their emotions, how to work through stress, how to learn how to channel their energy young. So when they get older and they're adults, they know how to respond to life and things that happen without getting angry, without fighting, without, drinking or doing drugs. Like if we could teach these children at a young age how to understand their emotional well-being and how they're in control, and the ways and the modalities of which to channel that energy in a positive way or in a constructive way. Learning about the earth elements, connecting to the earth's energy, spiritual topics. I mean, so the topics are very vast and full spectrum, but the difference is that the children can decide how many hours a day that they want to go to school and which classes they take. And it's very parent and child driven. So there's a lot of communication involved with the mentors, the parents, and the children. And as they go up the developmental stages, they will be very prepared for transitioning into the next phases of their life. When they're adolescents, they shouldn't have to take 7 classes where they're only interested in 2. So we have what's called apprenticeships, where the high school age children are really discovering what it is that you're interested in. Maybe they're really into engineering. So we focus all their classes on engineering. And if they want to, they can take art and some meditation. It's all a carte. So they decide, but they're really immersing themselves in what it is that they enjoy. And then they go to trade schools. I was shown this 10 years ago that universities would be gone. And I didn't understand how that was possible, but I knew it. I could see it. And I was told that we would have trade schools where it would be it could be 6 months, a 1 year, 2 year program, but these children will only go into that trade school program to get themselves a job, to get them hired. So Aramis Creative Learning Center is working to establish relationships with different companies and organizations that I don't even know what they're called, when the time comes, because a lot of them are going down, but the future good companies in the world that can create these trade school programs and partner with us and sponsor us so that these children go into life prepared for a career that they enjoy, that they want, and they're not choosing it for money or for the wrong reasons or because their parents made them. It's because they have really spent years cultivating their interests and designing what it is that they want to do, and without competition of SATs and what is their friend going to do and competing for their spot in a program. That won't exist because anybody can do any of the programs. So this is a very universal endeavor that you can see has many moving parts from the ages of 4 all the way to 22. That's a huge developmental range. And that's why we need them all over the country, all over the world, because they need to take over the public education system as it stands now, so that these children are provided opportunities far beyond what they're being offered right now.
Yeah, I love that. I have 3 kids as well, and their ages are 10, 13, and 14. And I pulled them to start homeschooling 3 years ago. We're in our 3rd year. And, right now, currently, my son, he's 13, he knows he wants to own his own business someday. And, my husband does own his own business. So he has built for him for the next 90 days a literal mentorship program of how do you start a business, what business, how do you generate revenue, like learning the books, how do you go out into community, trying to figure out where is there a need and how can I fulfill that. And so he's teaching him, again, these are all life skills, things that he will need moving forward. And then on his own, where he's taking engineering schools, he wants to be an astrophysicist, astrological engineering. So I'm sorry, aeronautical. And my youngest daughter, we really focus a lot of her schooling on life skills. And again, like I agree wholeheartly, doing the math through cooking, and she takes sewing. So she's doing a ton of math in that as well. And, and obviously we're working on crystal grids right now. We just got some Metatron cubes, in the mail. And so we're working and learning about how energy moves within that and how to create a sacred space. So we're doing aspects of that. But I love what you've done. I'm loving the concept of what you're bringing forward. It makes so much sense.
And it's imperative. It's the way we're going, and it's happening. We for our education, I have a 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we started with Rudolf Steiner, the Steiner philosophies and Waldorf, basically.
Yep.
And I love Steiner. However, the Waldorf got a little infiltrated. Like our WISC is the Waldorf Institute of Southern California. When we locked down, we were at a little parent-led Waldorf school. They came back muzzled, distance. I'm like, this is not Steiner. Steiner's all about the will of the child and the mind, body, spirit connection. And I was like, we got to try again. We got to try something new. And sure enough, this sweet little couple on their own developed a center, not attached to WISC, not attached to any corporation, built it from the ground up with Steiner philosophies, but they're bringing in sacred geometry for math. They're bringing in, the rhythm of the child and their age and the mentorship, the olders and the younger. It's the wave of the future. And I think it's imperative. I was a university early childhood that was my studies, was early childhood education. I wound up making a career using my basic skill set in motion picture. It was my passion that gave me a career. And I'm like, why aren't we focusing on the kids' passions? And that's where we can change the world, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, most adults out here, you can't get anybody to do something unless they're passionate about it. Otherwise, you're dragging your feet. Oh, I got to do this. And, when I was in school, I didn't want to learn about certain things, especially if I wasn't good at it. Because I'll tell you something, if you're not good at it and you're not passionate about it, I had a teacher once tell me that I had a learning disability because I couldn't get chemistry. And I tried, and I went on my lunch break, and I worked really hard, and I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. And she made me feel so bad about it that it really hurt my self-esteem for years and years and years. And that really affected me. And there's nothing wrong with me. I just don't think chemistry, but I do really well in a lot of other areas. And so if these children, imagine at 5, 6 years old, feeling like my daughter struggles in math. So she follows after me. And she feels so bad about herself. She thinks that she's dumb. She'll tell me, Mommy, I'm stupid, because she can't do the math that they're learning in the classroom. And I'm like, hold on a second. No, you're not. And I said, sit down right now. Let's sit down together. And then when I explain it to her in a way that's different and she gets it, you could see her being like, oh, I get it, Mom. And we're doing a disservice to these children because not everybody learns the same way. And it's absurd. And if they're passionate about something, even at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they are going to want to do it. They're not going to complain about it. They're going to be excited. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make learning exciting for children again, so that they want to go to school. And that's another thing. A lot of these words are spells, and we have to stop using them. And school is one of those. I refuse to use the word school in any of my verbiage. So that's why we use Aramis Creative Learning Center, because school is all about indoctrination. And so we got to stop using the word school. We also need to stop using the word kids, because kids is identifying them as a herd, as sheep, or goats. I think goats' children are called kids. So, we got to, it's all about changing the language so that our children are a priority, that we respect them, that we have a cohesive relationship with these children. Because like we said in the beginning, a lot of these, I know that all 3 of my children are more advanced beings than I am. And I have to figure out, okay, I understand that, but I am your mom. You chose me as your mom. So give me, let me figure this out. But I know that they've taught me more than I've probably ever taught them. And that's just the reality of that. You got to take the ego out. And same with the teachers here. We got to let the children lead. And so a big part of my program, like you mentioned, Heidi, is that children do really well when they work with other children. So I want older children teaching the younger children. Also, some of the younger children love to be with the older children. They look up to them. And so the mentors are kind of really in the room to facilitate learning, but really anything goes. It's what is best and unique for them in that moment, which is why it's very organic. So when we use the word curriculum, it makes it seem as though we're following a protocol, and people that are really analytical and by the book are not going to like what I'm creating, because it's far from it. There really is no curriculum. It's do it as we go. Let's shift it and change it again. And what works, we'll use it. What doesn't work, we won't. You know, I mean, left brainers are still very important. And there's a lot of starseeds that are very intelligent, very left brain, very analytical. You know, they are these future engineers and the astrophysicists. Like they are the way they are for a reason as well. So we're not trying to discount that, but that doesn't mean that they want to learn the same way that they're being taught in school right now. And so we just have to have an awareness and shift and be mindful of our children's needs, because they are different. I mean, look at me. In my house, I have 3 completely different children that need to be parented different, need to be disciplined different. They need to be honored differently and respected differently. So if you imagine a school with thousands of children, you can't treat them all the same way. It's just not possible.
Just the fact that you call teachers mentors, you know, helps shift the paradigm a little bit. As the veil is thinning, you know, more and more parents who are going to have to wake up to and subscribe to the fact that they're going to have to find a new way of doing things, and child-led learning and putting the power back in the child's, you know, being. I think, you know, I keep repeating it, but it's going to save the world.
Yeah, it really.
I get excited about it.
The thing that I love the most about the mentoring, which you talk, is it's teaching them that anybody can be a teacher, and we all have something of value. You know, my son really focused in on gardening for a whole year of his learning was I just let him run with it. You know, we have the tools that are needed. They have access to internet, you know, they have access to wealths of knowledge. And so I didn't get in his way, because I probably would have tried to more, you know, control it or ask him questions, and he didn't want that. He just wanted to get lost in his own flow of how the information was coming in. And through that, it just blows my mind, because he can sit and educate anyone now on what is the best way to have a garden grow, in the different things, like, well, they need this in their soil and they need this much water, and this is when you grab the seeds, and this is when you harvest them. And, you know, he just ran with it. So I encouraged him to start an Instagram page for it. I said, teach other children, make it geared towards other kids, because then it's coming from a peer. So he did. He started Green Thumb's Garden a couple of years ago, and he just makes little teaching videos for children to listen to them.
I love that. That's incredible. See, that's very inspirational. And other children will relate to that, because it's another child doing something and they're like, wow, I could do that too. Look at him. You know, look at her. My daughter does that all the time. She sees girls do things on Instagram, and she's like, Mommy, I want to do that too. And I'm like, sure, you can do anything you want. You know, that's the thing. We got to teach our children that the sky really is the limit. Stop putting limitations on them, because that's what happened to all of us. I can guarantee you. And most of the adults watching this, we don't feel like we could do something because someone at some point told us we couldn't, and we believed them. Totally. And these children come in with this clean slate of I could do anything. And we have to foster that from the beginning so they don't lose it.
Yeah.
And something you said that I think is important too, and it goes for Steiner as well, is the grading and the testing and things that, you know, those pressures that are put on. That's not going to show you. It's still comparing and dividing the kids, but the hands-on approach to things, you know, it adds the whole new element of education. They can read from a book and some logical, like you're saying, left brainers, I get the book thing, but the tangible, hands-on, those that can't digest a book, they need to be doing things. Yeah. I know our little 5th, 6th, middle schoolish part of our center, they have a pentathlon coming up this week. And in order to participate, they built their own chariot, and they had to figure out the wheel, the axle, you know, this, and it was all teamwork. And mentored by the 7th, 8th, and they are going to be given awards, and there's going to be winners. It's not like a one for all, but it's also supported. They become their own city, their own state. They made their own state flag. What's our flower representation? How's our soil? What's our biodome like? Like they just dove in, and it engrossed them for days without being like, memorize this. You're going to take a test. We're going to grade you. If you're not good enough, you go to another class. Like, the whole mindset has to shift, and they're excited. They're like, they're ready to go. Like they want to go do stuff.
Yeah. See, when you shift the tone, how when you shift the tone, the trajectory shifts and everything changes. And it doesn't, it takes one generation to make a change. So if we can do this right now, then all the children that are coming into the planet, that are being born now, and our children's children and our children's children's children and so on, will benefit from a whole new world, a whole new reality that to them is normal. And they come into it and that it is just is, you know, it's already done. And this is what we're working for. This is who we're doing this for.
Well, you know, and it's also, you know, what I work with my own kids is okay, they have these abilities, you know. So my oldest is pretty telepathic. She can just really tap into whomever she's around, especially if they have a very strong thought, she can feel it. But she wants to go into law. She really is all about the scales of justice. And but so we talk about, okay, how can you use these abilities in this world? Like, how do we, you know, outside of, you know, she's like, Mom, I don't want to be a healer or a reader, you know, like I do. And so it's, so she's like, how am I even, like, why do I have these abilities? How am I going to use this? So finding those ways. And just like you, Sherri, my youngest, she really wants to be a vet, but she said, I don't have any, like, I don't want to go to med school. I don't want to do that. I just really want to heal animals. And she's, again, just like your son, like a natural healer, like has done Reiki on me and I feel it immediately. So I'm like, okay, so then let's use your abilities. You can do Reiki on animals. You can build up your animal communication skills, which she can tap in, and be their voice for other people. And you can work with the doctors and say, okay, this is what they're really feeling, and this is what they're needing. So, you know, it's about finding ways to these stars, you know, these ones who have these heightened abilities. How can we now translate that into our future goals, missions, in a way? And also I want to add on to that, Sherri, I love one aspect of your story, which was how you pivoted. I mean, you had all these different careers and that landed you here. And so, you know, I work, my kids and other kids of that, there is no box, which we've been so programmed to think of. You go to high school, then you go to college, and then you have your degree, and then you work on that for 40 years, and then you retire. And, you know, and that can be overwhelming when sometimes people think, well, I have to choose at 22 what I'm going to do, and then I can't do anything else other than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and one of the biggest demographics that's struggling right now, and I talk about this all the time, is the age group of the young teens, so about 15 to late 20s right now. They are the ones struggling the most on this planet. I'm going to tell you why. Because they are the pioneers. They are the way showers. They are the ones that came in, and they're the in-betweeners. So they are in between the world that we are used to in our age group, because I think we're probably all the same age, where it was, you know, we're still in the old system, but we're recognizing that something needs to be changed, right? And then these children come in and they know that, okay, hold on, there's no job that I'm really interested in. I like your daughter. I like healing, but I don't really want to be a vet. I don't want to go to medical school. It's like they're all experiencing that. Like my son, he's interested in law, but he's like, you know, but I'm not sure about, because he's thinking about it in the current structure. So a lot of these children and young adults are struggling because they can't find their path. And I work with a lot of them. And I keep telling them, listen, you're really special. You're very strong. You came into this planet to make a change. You were here to be part of that group that represents the change that's needed and to make the change. So you are in a really hard category because you're here to notice that the change needs to be made, convince everybody else around you that what we're doing is not right. And then you got to go and do it. They're the entrepreneurs. They're the ones that are innovators. They're the ones that say, no, this is not right. I want to do it this way. I want to do this. I don't want to follow your footsteps, mom, dad, grandma, uncle, whatever. Yeah. You know, they have a really challenging job to do. And I feel for them, and they're really strong, but they're struggling. But once I explain it to them, I can't tell you how many of them that I've worked with that feel better. And I'm like, don't think about what job you want to do in the current existence of our reality. If you could close your eyes right now and design any job in the world, don't even call it a job, what would you do with your time? If you didn't have to worry about money, I guarantee you everybody has an answer. Oh, I would do this. I would do this. I said, great. That's what you're going to do. You are here to do that thing. And we are not supposed to do all of these other things anymore. Like, you're here to show us this new way. that is in a completely different system that's not revolved around money, because I know that we are not going to be worrying about money the way we have been. All of that programming, all of that is crumbling. All the paradigms are crumbling, and I was told at a young age, I wanted to, part of me wanting to be an animal doctor was I was just obsessed with animals. And I am also obsessed with elephants. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I've been obsessed with elephants since I was, I don't know, 10 years old. Obsessed. I mean, I have hundreds of them, 2 tattoos. I mean, everybody knows me as the elephant girl. And I wanted, in hindsight, I know now it's because I have an animal totem that's an elephant. And so they're always around me. And I wanted to work with elephants at the zoo when I was like a senior in high school, and I was trying to figure out, do I want to go to vet school next year or what? And I was like, you know what? I want to work with elephants at the zoo. And I had someone tell me, you'll never make any money doing that. That's a terrible idea. How are you going to support yourself? And that crushed my dreams. Honestly, that crushed my soul, my dreams, and everything, because I thought, why can't I do that? Who cares about the money? And everything changed. And I said, okay, well, I'll never do that. And I spent my whole life trying to work with elephants any way I could, which is how I ended up working at the zoo, in the hospital as a nurse, doing surgeries, doing treatments. So I got to go see the animals, the elephants, if they needed an injection or an x-ray. But it was like, I was never able to fulfill that desire of wanting to work with the elephants, because someone told me I couldn't, and I didn't. And I did everything I could to get as close as I could. You see how that, I obviously wasn't meant to work with elephants, and this is what I'm meant to do, but you see how we can shift the thoughts and our beliefs in our children at a young age that sets the tone forever. And that's why we have so many people out there that are miserable in what they do. They're a lawyer because their mom and dad made them, and they hate it. They're doctors and they hate it. And because they had no choice, or someone told them they couldn't be an artist because they'll never make money, so they chose to become a doctor. And we need to break that paradigm. And that's what we're doing right now. And I love that you told your daughter, you want to be a vet? Great. Or you want to work with animals, you can heal them. And there are so many jobs that are going to be available for these children that don't even exist yet. I know they're there and have sessions with children every single day. And I'm like, okay, I see that you're working with animals in this capacity, but I can't quite pinpoint what it is that you're doing. I'm being told that it doesn't exist yet, but you're on the right path, or you're going to do this. Or I see somebody the other day that was 9 years old, and I was told he was going to work in holographic technology and a whole bunch of fancy words that I didn't know what it meant. And I was like, I don't know what this means, but they're telling me that we don't have the technology yet, but this is what he's going to do. And the mom was like, oh, that makes sense to me. And it resonated with them. And I was like, okay, great. But the point is that everything in our reality is shifting. And if we can cater to that from the time these children are born and all the way as they grow through their adolescent, most vulnerable years into those young adults, they're feeling well-rounded, balanced, secure, confident, and ready to follow their dream. And it's about time that we have a world where we actually can follow our dreams instead of following someone else's or being told that we can't. And that's a big part of what I'm trying to create in these centers, is that these children can follow their dreams, and nobody is going to tell them that they can't do it. And if they do, they won't be working there. I will tell you that. They will not be working there.
Imagine all these future generations growing without those inner child trauma, all these wounds that they spend their adult life trying to heal. They won't have them if they're raised that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sherri, I was smiling when you were telling your story with your sessions. I get the same exact information. And I'm like, I'm seeing, like, it's so real. This is so tangible. I see you doing this. I don't know how this is going to be here, but you just are. And, and sometimes I've been seeing, one in particular, they gridded out the soil, but in each portion of the soil, there were these symbols, and it was going to be doing like deep healing within the soil in order to remove things out, but they were going to be assisted by things that aren't here yet. Help clear it out. I said, you're putting symbols in. So I drew out all these symbols, and it was gridded out, and I said, it's just not here yet.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We got to think outside the box. That's what our children are here to do. They're here to make us feel uncomfortable as parents and as friends. And, you know, they're here to push us out of the box. I can't tell you how many times my daughter has told me, why, mommy, but why do we have to do it this way? And I have had to tell her, I don't know. I said, because I was told by my mom and dad, and that's just how it's been. But you're right. And we are wrong. And I have had to tell her that so many times. That's what these children are here. They're here to make us rethink. Why are we doing? Why does it have to be this way? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? And I swear, I'm like, I don't know. At this point, I'm just like, I don't know anymore, Aramis. You tell me what's right. You know what I mean? Because they know it's right, because they're coming from their Pleiadian, you know, planet, or Andromeda, or Sirian, or wherever. Honestly, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're all beautiful, but they're bringing in their values, their philosophies, their knowledge here, so we can implement it, so we can finally get ourselves on track here. Once we've really gotten rid of all of the darkness. And that's what I tell people, just to get political for 1 second. You know, that's why I tell people who are losing faith, are frustrated right now because things don't seem to be moving the way that they thought, or the way that they were told, or whatever, right? And I said, listen to me. I can tell you for a fact, through my sessions, I worked with almost 1,000 people in the last 9 months, children, parents, you know, grandparents, every age. And I can tell you that these starseed children would not agree to come here on this planet if we weren't ready. So it may appear to you that things are not happening, but I will also tell you that I would not be opening or being given the green light from spirit to push forward and talk about these education centers that I'm trying to create, because something bad would have happened to me 10 years ago, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now, because they would make sure that it didn't happen, and these children wouldn't be ready. So if that helps anybody out there feel like, oh man, okay, that makes sense. It's letting us know that we're moving in the right direction. Otherwise, why would they come? They're not going to come. They're way too evolved. They're way too ascended. They're here, not here to learn. They're here to teach, and they're here to make changes. And they wouldn't come if those changes couldn't occur in this exact timeline, in this now space that we are living in. And that's how I wake up every day, no matter what I hear. I don't watch the news, but, you know, through the grapevine, or people tell me, I don't worry. I'm not worried. I want to open up 50 centers in the next 10 years. I don't have the money yet. I'm trying to raise the funding. But am I worried about it? Absolutely not. I know the money's coming. I can see them. I can hear them. I can hear the children. You know, I did a workshop with Michael Jaco and a couple other people, Rebecca Satori, a couple months ago in December. And we did a visualization exercise, and we had to go into the future. And I went into this crystal cave. It was a beautiful selenite cave, and I didn't know what I was going to see in the cave. I wasn't trying to find anybody. This was just a safe space, and we were going to kind of go into the future. And I went in there, and this woman approached me with she's bigger than me, like meaning way taller than me, really thick black or dark brown hair, big eyes, big round face. And I'm like, who's this woman coming up to me? And then as soon as she got close enough to me, I was like, oh my God, that's Aramis 10 years from now. So she was probably about 27, 28 years old. That's her as an adult. And all she said to me was, Mom, we did it. These centers are everywhere. And then she started showing me in visions. I could see them all over, in Africa, outside of this country. They were all over the world. And I started to tear up and cry in the middle of this huge, conference room with 50 other people at this hotel. And I wanted to scream in front of everybody in that moment to tell everybody, we're going to do it. Everything it's happening. I just saw my daughter at 28 years old, and she just told me that we did it. That was really life-changing for me. So anytime that I feel like things are not moving forward as fast as I want, I still know there's a divine plan for every single person out there that's worried about what it is that they're going to do next, whether they have a child or not, whether they're invested in education or not, that they're worried about their job, their career, their life, their health, whatever it may be. That helps me every day know that we're moving forward in the right direction, even if we don't have tangible proof that we would like it to be in this dimensional field, in this reality. If you take away the consciousness and the beliefs and the connection, and you want something tangible, that's hard to do right now in this reality. But I'm telling you, it's there. And that helps me every day kind of get out of bed and become very motivated to keep moving forward.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And, and I want to add to what you were talking about. These children that came, they left families. They left their families to come here. Like, this was a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice for you. You left your families to come here. Your children left their families, and they still sometimes feel those connections, and it can be emotional for them, but they are absolutely here for a purpose. And to reiterate, your children are protected from beyond. They're protected by those families. They came here with a purpose. You are protected by your families. There are so many realms that are here watching this and guiding this as it happens. And so just know these children are here to do such big things, and it's our jobs as parents, as guardians of them. I've always looked at my children since they were born. I'm their guardian to keep them well and safe until they go and do their mission. But it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing, guys. We just have to get through this, but it is with a purpose.
I think all this blip time and all, it's our time to find the others and get ready, and get that foundation so we can just boom right up. Can we talk about the centers for a little bit? Because I see that too. I would like to subscribe to this and see however way I can help. I did see an advertisement you're looking for online mentors right now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So where we are right now. So I have a location in Bethesda, Maryland, that I opened a year ago. That is my healing center that I tried to kind of make shift into some classroom, for the children to take some classes like art, no real curriculum based classes. It was more for fun, like the spiritual classes we talked about. I've taught Reiki level 1 and 2. We do meditation, mindfulness, spirit animal classes. So a bunch of pendulums, crystals, that sort of thing. And I started talking about this publicly about a year ago, in December last year. And I can't tell you the amount of emails and texts and calls and Facebook messages and all sorts of things that I got from parents, not even just in this country, but like internationally in every country. I mean, it was unbelievable. These women, most of them were women that were mothers. And they were saying, I'm crying to you as I'm writing this email. When are you going to have these classes for my child in New Zealand, Australia, California? And I emailed them and I said, oh, well, I'm working on getting the virtual platform up so your children can benefit as well. And I can't tell you how many people reached out that were interested in the virtual classes because they wanted their children to participate now. They didn't want to wait for a center to open up near them. So that's when I transitioned to 100% virtual. I wanted to focus all my attention on being able to make these classes available to anybody is essentially that could, participate in our time zones, because obviously that was a thing for Australian children, because a lot of classes were when they were sleeping and they couldn't participate, which we're working on right now. So I stopped doing the in-person classes because I also happen to live in an area that is very afraid of certain things, and they didn't want their children to come into our centers because we didn't require, the face diapers and things like that. And they were much more, well, we won't say anything bad, but it just wasn't working out. And so what I'm trying to do right now is plan the first 5 locations in the United States, where we're going to open up physical locations, which will be in Florida, Texas, California, Colorado, and either Washington State or one of the Carolinas. I put a survey out about a month ago asking for people to let us know if they would want a center in their area, if they would send their children, where they live, how many children they have. And I've gotten over 500 people responding to the survey. And those are the top 6 states. And then the top countries have been Australia and Canada. Mm. And so the only thing holding us back right now is the funding, because we need to purchase the land of all of our locations. We want to own the land, own the buildings, and we want to have animal therapy and healing units in every single one, which will require a lot of them to have horses, which is why we need land. That's going to be that's an imperative and huge part of our learning centers is animal wellness, which obviously you know that about me now. And it's so important for these children to learn with the animals. And so because we're waiting for money and we're looking for angel donors and investors to help us get the first few up and running, I'm working with a virtual reality company where we are trying to expand our Zoom our virtual classes to a virtual reality platform to make it more fun and engaging for the children, because it's very difficult, and understandably, to engage a child through Zoom. I don't care what teacher out there or how fun their class is, it's really hard to get their attention for that long on a computer screen. So we're trying to make it more engaging and fun. So we're doing an immersive virtual reality world. I'm about to publish a promo video that it kind of showcases what that will look like. And that way we can reach all ages, all demographics, all areas of the world right now, as soon as we finish building this virtual reality world, so that none of these children in these other states have to wait. So I'm trying to do 2 things at the same time, trying to get the virtual platform up and running, which is why we're hiring teachers that want to teach within that format, so we can help children right now, today. And it may be that these children are living in different states and they do this just for extracurricular opportunities. Maybe it's on top of school, whatever it is, and it's available and open to anybody that wants to come in and be involved in our community. And then as we get the money and the funding, which I know will come, we will start opening the physical locations literally everywhere. I would love to see at least 50 of them in the next 10 years, all over the country, and then spread out into different countries within the world, based on demographics and resources and those types of things. And so, yeah, I would be happy to share any links in your description box with AramisCreativeLearningCenter.com is our website. It has all the information. It has Aramis Stages of Learning. It has our philosophy on there. It has our promo videos that we have to showcase kind of what the centers are about. I haven't published the virtual one yet, but I will soon. We also have, which we haven't spoken about, which is a intimate project of mine. This is my baby, is our cartoon series. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we have Divinely Guided Children, which is an animated series that I had the idea of starting around this time last year. I had the idea and I partnered up with one of the illustrators of one of the teachers, the art teachers, who has made short films and books herself. And I said, I have this idea. I want to create animated cartoon videos that are short, that can start teaching children what they should be learning in school right now in a fun way, in a cartoon. I said, I was like, how awesome is this idea? And she said, let's do it. And now, a year later, we just released the 9th video yesterday. So we're trying to do it around 1 a month. And they're anywhere from 5 minutes to 8 minutes. And every episode is a new topic. And kids are loving it. Grandparents are loving it. I have people that write me that say they don't have children and they cry watching them. The characters are based off my children's names. We have Aramis, Skylar, and Jordan. And then the other girl's name is Vivian, which is named after my grandmother, who happens to be my favorite person on the planet. Well, she's passed now, but it's just a passion project of mine. And we'd love to see that expand as we move forward to a full feature film, in some documentaries. And so we've got a lot of really cool things going on. I don't know, have you guys seen any of the animation videos?
I just forwarded it around. I was stalking your page a little bit, and I was forwarding it around, telling people the new Saturday morning cartoons for your kids. Like, it was great. My daughter loved it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Heidi just shared it in all of our Raising Starseed groups.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot. They're a lot of fun. And, there's simple topics, but they're things children should know about. We just did the earth elements. We've talked about manifestation, healing, angels, all sorts of cool things.
It's awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Sherri. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
They can email. Well, so I have two websites, so it's a little confusing. Intuitivewellnesscenter.com is my main website that's really focused more on the adult healing, and all of my sessions are through there, and all the classes for adults are through there. And then AramisCreativeLearningCenter.com is the children's sessions and about the center. But people can reach me directly through Sherri@IntuitiveWellnessCenter.com. That's the email that I check the most.
All right, amazing. And for anyone who's interested for the angel donations, what's the best way that they can get in touch with that? If they know someone who's looking to invest in this.
Yeah, I would be so honored to talk to anybody interested in helping us. They can email me directly at that email. We do have a smaller donation page. So on AramisCreativeLearningCenter.com, on the homepage at the bottom, there's a donation link for those that want to support us through buying equipment to support the animation series, all sorts of different things. They can donate smaller donations through PayPal there. But if someone is interested out there to help us grow the centers and help in a larger capacity, they can please email me directly so I can talk to them through my email.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for stepping into this work. It's so important, vitally important, right now more than ever. So I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Such an honor to be on your show. Maybe I'll come back again and we can just keep talking about the children. I mean, we could talk for hours about them.
I know.
We really
yes,
could.
I would love it. And everyone, we will have all these links down below in the description bar, so you can find everything that Sherri does, the animated videos, the links to her books that she's written, sessions with her, then also ways that we can help generate this. And really, what's better than just us all using our manifestation powers to help these? And that's really, they're already created, they're already done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. So thank you so much, Sherri, for spending the day with us. And we absolutely would love to have you come back on, and we can kind of, get a little bit deeper in some things.
Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And thank you to everybody watching this that is seeing me for the first time. It's nice to meet all of you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.